Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brittany Miller, and I'm really excited to be back today for our Here with Families, Here for Families Facebook Live session. We have a treat today for today's topic. I will introduce her in a little bit, but I wanted just to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good Friday, and I have some updates to share about raising special kids and what we've been up to. So as you can imagine, per usual, our family support team is busy taking phone calls. We've been busy this week. We've had a ton of parents needing our assistance, and we've been honored to provide that support and help for so many families in Arizona that need guidance, raising their children with disabilities. So thank you for calling us, and we're glad to be here for you. Raising Special Kids also has launched our tax credit campaign. So in Arizona, there are options where you can donate to nonprofits using a tax credit. And we encourage you to talk to your tax professional because there's several different kinds and they can show you what to do, but it's super easy and you're able to get all of your money back. So it's a wonderful way to support the organizations you love. And we're so thankful for the donations that are already coming in for Raising Special Kids. So if you are inclined to donate to help us keep supporting families, we will put that information in our chat, and thank you very much. Also, as we jump in today, I will be watching the chat. We are going to be talking about guardianship. And I know that there's families that are gonna have a bunch of questions, so feel free to engage, listen in, because you're going to learn a lot today. And with that, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Maureen Mills. So thank you, Maureen, for being here today.
My pleasure.
Maureen and I get to work together a lot, and I'm so grateful. She is on, well, I'm on the communications team with her, and we have a lot of fun at work, and I've learned a lot from her. And I'm going to let her introduce herself. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your family and what you do for Raising Special Kids, Maureen?
Sure. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are grown and flown, and my third is the one that brings me to Raising Special Kids and gets me, has taught me so much in my life. He is 22 years old now, almost 23, and so it's been a few years, but we did decide to go through get guardianship for him. And at Raising Special Kids, I was a family support specialist when I first started there, did a lot of trainings about legal options, but now I work for the communications team, and I do some design work and put together the newsletter and do the Monday memo, and working on the website right now for our new website. We've got a lot going on, so I try to help any way I can.
Yes, and you're probably forgetting about 20 other things you do because you're very a big asset to Raising Special Kids. So thank you for being here and for being willing to share a little bit about your journey with your family.
My pleasure.
So as you know, Maureen, as a family support specialist, we get a lot of calls coming in for parents, their kids are teenagers, they're approaching 18, and it's kind of a scary time, when our children with disabilities are young, we're used to, we advocate for them, we take care of their needs, we make decisions for them. And as they approach adulthood, it's kind of an interesting phase that, oh, okay, well, now I have to, if I decide I want to go to court and apply for guardianship, I have to go through this a little bit of a complicated process, and it can be kind of an emotional time. So I'm so grateful you're willing to share a little bit just so we can give families some peace of mind that they can do it and we can help you get through and make the choices you need for your family.
Absolutely.
So how did you feel, when your son Connor was younger and he was about, approaching 18, how did you feel during this time? What were some things that kind of guided you in the decision you decided to make?
Well, I mean, because Connor has Down syndrome, we had heard about special needs trust, guardianship, all of these things throughout his whole life. But it was so far off that we didn't really, we didn't know what was going to happen. And we were all kind of like, we don't know what he's going to be like at that time. So it was always in the back of our minds. But as he started getting closer and we started paying closer attention and kind of identifying the things that he would need to be able to do on his own, and discussing whether or not we really felt he was going to be able to do that successfully, it's very emotional. It's kind of like, okay, I'd really like him to be independent, like his brother and sister, to go and do all of those things. But at this point for him, safety was our biggest concern. And we decided, okay, if we want to make sure that he is as safe as we can possibly make him, this is the choice for our family. But it wasn't we didn't come to it easily. We put a lot of thought into it, and what else could we do, and would this work? And we didn't really think that with Connor's personality and his hope to be, he loves attention and he loves to please people. We thought that he was very vulnerable that way, you
Yeah.
know. So our choice was to say, okay, at this point, we do not feel that he is able to do this on his own. We didn't close the door forever, and we know that it would be a battle or a little challenge to try and but he's going to continue to develop and grow and make changes and mature. And so hopefully eventually we can move into a different phase of assistance for him. But at the time that he turned 18, and still currently, he really needs a level of assistance, or we feel he does, that full guardianship offered.
Thank you. And I liked that you shared, all the different feelings that come into it. As I take phone calls from families, or, one of us is facilitating our legal options training, these are common feelings. It can be emotional. There's this battle inside your mind. I don't want to take away their rights, but I also want them to be safe and to be able to make decisions. And so it's kind of a complex time. And so I'm glad you kind of shared that with families, because I know some parents maybe feel guilt, or they're nervous, or they're afraid. And it's okay. It's okay to make the best choice for your family and for your son. And I'm assuming, you talked to him about it, and
No.
you did
Yes.
not. Okay.
Yes, we did. We talked to
Okay.
him about it, and basically it was like, do you is it okay if mom and dad continue to help you? We
Mhm.
take you to the doctor. We help you talk to the doctors. We help you do all of the things that you need to do. Is that okay with you? And part of the guardianship process is the court assigns an investigator and an attorney for him. So the attorney also came to our home to interview Connor. And his interview was, he wanted to be alone with Connor, not,
Mhm.
I mean, separated from us. We were close by, of course.
Sure.
And he had a conversation with Connor, like, so do you like living with your mom and dad? Huh? Did they help you a lot? Uh-huh. So it was very friendly language for Connor to help him, basically ask him, do you feel safe here? Do you want your mom and dad to still be involved in your life to the extent they are now? And it didn't take long, and they had a great conversation. And so we moved on from there. And I was just talking to Connor yesterday, as I was preparing for this, and I said,
Mhm.
hey, remember when we went to court? What do you remember about it? Please stand. Please sit. You may sit. So uh, we prepared him, and we also worked. This is one thing that I felt was really special. We worked with his speech therapist to prepare him for the event when we went to the courthouse, and she showed him videos. She talked about who the different people were. You were going to sit over here with your lawyer. Your mom and dad will sit over here. We'll be there. Those types of things. So he was well prepared, and it was all about him. So he got tons of attention. So we really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I didn't know that about, how the speech therapist worked with him. That is something I hope families listening and remember, because I'm sure it was a great opportunity for learning, and then also gave him an opportunity to feel more empowered at this hearing that's all about him.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
wonderful. Maureen, if you don't mind, I had a mom on the chat ask, what if they're nonverbal? Is this process the same? Does the attorney still ask them questions just like they would anybody else? Can you kind of talk about that? Or what are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I'm not quite sure, but the whole process is the same. I mean, they will still uh, 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 assign an attorney for your child,
Mhm.
and that person will meet your child to, I think part of it was to come to our home to make sure that we weren't abusing him, or we weren't neglecting him.
Mhm.
So there's also an investigator who went to his school and talked to his teachers and went to his, so there's a lot going on in the background, because they want to make sure that if you're taking away somebody's rights, which is what we decided to do,
Mhm.
that it's reasonable, and it's not that for a reason. Weren't taking over his, we weren't going to exploit him.
Sure. And I've had, when I first started working here and I was learning to facilitate this training, our supervisor told me that, it took a lot in our country to preserve individual rights. So it takes a lot to take some of those rights away, and they have to take into consideration. So once I say that to parents, sometimes they're like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense. Because I know as a mom, I'll be in your shoes in less, in like 9 years with my daughter. And it seems weird because I'm already doing all these things for her. So then now I have to go ask the government's permission, pay some money, and go do it again. And it's kind of a hard thing for parents to grasp. So, but
And
when
I
it,
agree.
yeah,
My supervisor said the same thing to me. Well, the first time that I sat in on one, it was like our entire country is founded on individual rights. To take them away is a big deal. So you better make sure that it's warranted.
right. So when you were considering the different options, limited versus full, why did you choose full? I know you've kind of talked about it, but can you
Right.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. A couple of the things about limited guardianship, I didn't, kind of like Connor doesn't seem to be the type of person that would be a good driver. So a driver's license would probably not be anything that would be in his desire area. And we just thought that we needed to be able to help him everywhere. We felt that the level of assistance that he needed um, was such that we needed full guardianship. However, one of Connor's friends that he goes to his program with recently went to court to have her voting rights reinstated. So I was like, that's very interesting because Connor's older sister and brother are very involved in politics and very, engaged. And so I'm wondering whether or not that might be something that Connor might want to do eventually. But that's up to him, and he would have to make that case, right?
And thank you for saying that lastly, because I've talked with parents and I've said, even though if you're choosing full guardianship, it doesn't mean you don't ask your loved one what they want to do in their life. It's
Right.
just at the end of the day, you and your husband have the final decision to make sure it's for his well-being and safety. So you can still ask him, what do you want to do? What do you want to spend your days doing? What do you want to learn? It doesn't mean that part of it's gone, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Our job as guardians is to help him reach his full potential based on what his desires are, what his hopes and dreams are, and trying to tease that out of him right now is what we're working on in his program that he attends. So, trying to figure out what it is and trying to help him get to where he wants to be, so yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Thank you. So how did the actual process go for you guys? Once you got the paperwork, what were your thoughts when you downloaded it and looked at it? How did it go from there?
It was like, this is confusing. I teach this class all the time, and they're asking for one thing here and another thing there. So I was very confused.
Mhm.
I felt confident that I was be able to do it, fill out the paperwork and do it. But it was also a pain, basically, to go through and take care of all of that stuff. So luckily, I was at an event where I won the services of a document preparer. So I was like,
Hit the jackpot.
cha-ching, yes, cha-ching. So we
Oh.
were able to do that, and the document preparer was so helpful. And so I didn't have to worry about making a silly error
Mhm.
that would kick it out and put us behind or cause any issues that would be difficult to fix.
Thank you. That's amazing. And families, if you are at this point where you've downloaded your paperwork and you need some assistance, Raising Special Kids can help. Definitely check out our Legal Options Turning 18 training we've been kind of mentioning here and there. We offer it every month and we'll put it in the chat. It's super helpful. We talk about all the options from, the least restrictive option of, supported decision making to power of attorney to limited to full. And we talk about how those work. And then you can take that information and make the best decision for your loved one. Super informative. It's free. It's virtual right now. So I definitely encourage families, to take it. And if you just want to talk to somebody about us, call Raising Special Kids. Our family support team, we can talk you through your individual situation. We can give you the resources. We can, send you to the Superior Court website and kind of tell you where to go to find everything. And we'd be happy to help you. And we also have resources, that document preparer Maureen just mentioned. If you're looking for someone like that, we have some resources we could send out too. So just know that Raising Special Kids, we're here to help you.
There were times, I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
go ahead.
there were times that I actually called the clerk of the court and asked questions, because I was like, okay, I have this question about the situation. And I'm like, well, pick up the phone, give her a call. And that was very helpful as well. I mean, they can't tell you how to fill out your paperwork, just like people at Raising Special Kids can't.
Right.
We're not legal, we're not document preparers, we're not attorneys. They couldn't do that, but they were able to answer the questions that were pertinent to filling out and knowing about the situation.
That's great. So once you got the paperwork done, you turned it in. Was it a couple of months? How long did it take until?
Yeah, it really didn't take that long. I think we turned it in like middle of January. His birthday's in May. We were there. We were in the courtroom in March. So it only took a couple of months.
That was pretty timely. And I think right now the hearings, because of the pandemic, are still virtual.
Yeah.
So families, just know I believe it's, that 2-month window. It seems like most parents are getting that is, as close to the 18th birthday as possible is what the court tries to do.
Yeah.
So once you turned it in, and then, the investigator met with you guys, the attorney, and then you actually get to court. What was that like when you guys got there?
Well, we had been watching videos with Connor, as you'll remember. So although the courthouse did look a little different than the ones in the videos, but we, we made it a family day. Everybody went, and it's like, okay, we're gonna make this official. You're gonna stay with us, that kind of thing. So it was we tried to make it a celebration. And so we were there, and we went into the courtroom, and my husband and I sat at one table, and Connor sat at another table with his attorney, and he got to practice the all rise. And of course he looked around at his speech therapist like, they really said it. Oh my gosh. So he was, and the judge talked to us, talked to Connor and his attorney, and then the attorney asked for the fees to be waived. And that's a really important thing, to make sure that the attorney for your loved one does. If you've submitted that fee deferral form and the attorney asks for the fees to be waived and you're granted guardianship, the fees are based on the your loved one's income. And Connor wasn't raking in the big bucks, so we were good. They waived the fees.
Oh, such a good tip. Yeah.
But we did have a little hiccup with that, because a couple years later I got a bill from the court. So apparently, although the judge said it and agreed to it, she didn't document it correctly. So we had to go back and kind of talk to the judge. But, it was just a matter of a couple of phone calls and take care of that.
That probably wasn't great, but normally it's supposed to flow like that, where you fill out the form and then the attorney, thank you for pointing that out, because I actually didn't know that. So you need to make sure you talk to the attorney to mention that in the hearing, so the judge will note it. Well, and families, go ahead.
I imagine many of the attorneys are well versed in that, but just like bring it up, because why not?
Yeah, it'll save you some money. So, and we have a great checklist at Raising Special Kids that talks about, all the things you need to remember, and that fee waiver form is on there. So it's super helpful, just kind of keeps you on track of what you're supposed to be doing. So, okay, we've learned about the process, and we've heard some, feelings you had as a parent and how Connor did with the whole situation. What advice or suggestions might you have for another parent, or for me, as my daughter gets older, what are some advice or suggestions you might have for us as we're trying to weigh, what decision would be best for our child and our family?
I'd say recognize that it's going to be emotional. There are a lot of things you do as a parent that are emotional, and you have to make these decisions based on the information that you have and the knowledge of your child that you have. I would say talk to Raising Special Kids, because I felt like I was, before I looked at the paperwork and started actually filling it out, I felt like, oh, I can do this. I know what this is all about. And then, it gets confusing. It's all legalese. And it's like, I don't know for sure if this is correct. So reach out to the resources that are available, Raising Special Kids, go to the training, call one of the family support specialists, talk to people who have been through it, ask for a parent-to-parent connection for somebody who's already gone through it, and talk to them and see how it's been. If you can't make a decision, see if you can have a parent-to-parent connection with somebody who has selected guardianship and who made the choice not to, and how that worked and how it's going for them. It's not an easy choice, and be okay with that. And also be okay with what you decide, because ultimately we're here to do what's best for our family.
That is so true, Maureen. Thank you. I did have a comment or a question here. Let's see. So Amber asked, so when can we start the process? When can you start?
17 years, 6 months. So when he was 17, his birthday's in May, we started it in January. And we were awarded guardianship prior to his 18th birthday, but it goes into effect on his 18th birthday. So we had our court date in March. He didn't turn 18 until May. So it's okay if you go earlier. It's not like you have to go on the day of their birthday, their 18th
Sure.
birthday. Yeah.
And families, if you haven't done it yet and your child is older than 18, still call us. It's okay too. Sometimes life circumstances change. We have families call in and maybe they tried power of attorney or something, and then things happen and things change, and then they maybe feel now that guardianship is more appropriate. It's okay if it doesn't happen at 18. Obviously, being more prepared is better, but like you said before, our young adults grow and learn and change and adapt, and sometimes you have to make different decisions at different times. So don't feel like it's too late if you haven't done it yet at 18.
What really impressed me when we were there for the guardianship hearing, there were many guardianship hearings, and most of them were for elderly adults. So for parents who are needing assistance as they age. So it doesn't have to have it. Most of them are not taking place when people with disabilities hit 18.
That's very true. So Maureen, I've had a question pop into my mind. So once you filed for guardianship, did you have to do anything else? I mean, are you the guardian? That's it? Do you have to do anything else, submit any forms, anything like that?
Yes, you do. Every year you have to submit a report of guardian, and you have to put down the date that your child was last seen by a physician.
Okay.
There's a form that you fill out and you submit it prior to your anniversary date. So basically right before his birthday.
Okay.
And sometimes, to tell you the truth, I've forgotten and gotten a notification.
Get it done.
Yeah. So, basically you just fill out the forms and take it down to the courthouse, and they accept it and go on your merry way. Well, at least for me, that's how it's been.
Okay. And another question that I thought of too that I should have asked earlier is, did his doctor have to fill anything out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And it has to take place. When we did this for Connor, it had to be like in 6 months or something like that. But I think they've shortened the time frame so that he had to have been seen by a doctor within 3 months, something like that. So it's something to pay attention to. But that's part of the guardianship paperwork that you're filling out, is the physician's report, and whether or not they have a recommendation as to whether or not this person should be under guardianship.
Okay. And I'm sure, our physicians have done this for so many people. So, would you advise a family just to call and make an appointment for this reason?
Yes.
I need to fill out guardianship paper. Will you help me, type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Connor's doctor, she was kind of asking about it for a few years prior to this, like prepping us. So are you going to do guardianship? And I'm like, well, thinking about it, but we haven't made the decision yet. She goes, well, you need to do it. I'm like, I got it. So I got you. So.
Yeah. So we had another question come up too, and I think it's important to address. So a mother on the thread asks, do I need an attorney for any of this? I know you've done it on your own, but let's just clarify that. Do we need an attorney to file for guardianship for a child?
No. you don't need to, it is not required for you to go to court with an attorney to do guardianship. I think some people, depending upon their situation, ours was not a contested guardianship. Like Connor was okay with us continuing to
Yeah.
do what we've always done. But there might be situations where the person who you're petitioning for guardianship over wants nothing to do with that. So in that case, then I would highly recommend having an attorney. But the the paperwork you can do yourself. You can go to the court hearing by yourself. You are not required to have an attorney. There are some cases I'm sure that it would be beneficial to have an attorney, but that wasn't our case.
Okay. And I have heard, some families, if they don't mind paying, legal fees, they hire an attorney because they're doing guardianship. They're helping with the special needs trust and the estate planning, and they're kind of doing the whole thing. And families, you have that choice. It's just know that you don't have to do that, because it can be costly. And so some families aren't able to do so. So there's different options. And that's why I think it would be great to take our legal options class, because we, for anyone listening, because we do talk about the different options, and we do have a ton of resources, like I said. So call us, because if you need a recommendation for a document to prepare, or want to, learn about, what an attorney would do to help you, we're not legal representatives, obviously, but we have resources that we can send your way. So, but I think it's great, Maureen, that you guys did it on your own, because when we were talking about doing this Facebook Live, I just felt it was really important that families could see that you can do this. It's a little complicated. You have to go through the paperwork, but families can do this.
Well, I have to say that the document preparer was very helpful, and they, they knew where to take these papers. They knew where to submit them, how many, all of that type of thing. Yeah. They took a lot of the pressure off, because otherwise it'd be like, I don't even know where the courthouse is, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's true. And just to know that all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted correctly, I'm sure gave you peace of mind. So
yes.
Thank you. Well, is there anything you wish you knew about in advance before you started this process?
I think I'm really fortunate to have had the experience of working at Raising Special Kids, and also knowing right pretty much from the first time I ever went to any kind of support group meeting when Connor was a baby, that this was something that may be coming down. So it was something that I was able to prepare for 18 years and think about. But I think that the knowledge that you get from and I know we keep talking about this legal options class and the support, family support specialist, but how important that is to get the basis, the information that you need about what it's going on. I was really fortunate to have that information, know that information to begin with. But people who are unfamiliar with it, it's invaluable.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been super helpful for all the families calling in. So sign up. We put our link in the class calendar, and just know that we're here to help you. So wrapping up, I did want to ask you, so what is Connor up to today? What does he do? What does he fill his time with? What activities is he engaged in? What is he up to?
Right now he's shooting hoops in the backyard, and
awesome.
I hid his trombone to make sure that he did not have any interruptions auditorially here. He attends Pathway to Work for DTA and for transition to employment. And so they're trying to help him identify what his real goals are, because he's a pleaser. So it's like, do you like this? Yes, I do. Do you like this? Yes, I do. So trying to kind of hone it down to what he really wants to do. And then based on that, build the skills that he needs in order to have a sustainable employment situation. And he also, part of the DTA stuff is the fun stuff like Zumba and art and cooking and, all the fun stuff.
Yoga.
Yoga. Yes, absolutely. Yoga. And what were they doing today? Oh, Jeopardy, Super Bowl Jeopardy, or big game Jeopardy. Sorry, you can't use that word, right? So he really misses his friends. He has not been there in person for a year. And so he has really been hanging in there. So let's get that vaccine for him.
I know the pandemic has been so hard. And from what I know of him, he seems like a social guy. So I'm sure
Oh,
he's
yeah,
been having to be incredibly patient this year.
he certainly has. Yes. Yeah.
So is there anything, that's standing out in his employment training that you think he might want to go into?
Well, he wants to work in a hospital.
Oh, very cool.
Yes. He was pretty sick a year and a half ago or so
Yeah.
and spent a couple of weeks in the hospital. And we still keep in touch with one of the ICU nurses. And we brought her cookies the other day, that kind
Oh,
of thing. We know that they're having a really challenging time now. So we try to do what we can from the outside to pep them up. But he talks about the nurse all the time and the nurses, which encompasses the doctors and the respiratory therapists and all the people that were helping him when he was in the hospital. And he wants to go there. He wants to help people with the inhalers that's what he talks about because they were so helpful for him.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see how he gets there. And he seems like he has a motivated spirit. So I'm sure pretty soon he'll be working at one of the hospitals. That's awesome.
Hopefully not too soon though.
Yeah, that's right. Let's wait like a little ways down the road.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maureen. I've really enjoyed just hearing it from your parent perspective. And I feel like the families listening in, and hopefully it gave you guys some peace of mind. As we've talked about many times over this conversation, guardianship, that word, for some reason, it just seems intimidating. And when you're trying to make those decisions, you have so many options to weigh in and it can be hard. And so I really feel like it was helpful, Maureen, for you to tell your story and how you came to this decision for Connor and your family. So thank you so much.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Always nice to chat with you, Brittany.
For sure. Parents, families listening in, we're thinking of you guys. If you need assistance with your individual needs, please call Raising Special Kids. Our phone number is 602-242-4366. We hope you have a safe, peaceful weekend, and we will see you next time.